say is the DPOJs, guys. That's live. That form is live. It actually went live on Monday night, and then Jeff emailed me yesterday afternoon. It was like, it went live last night. He's supposed to let me know before he did that. But so DPOJ is live. You can get there by going to the stlp.education.ky.gov site and then going to DPOJ, or that email I sent you yesterday has a direct link to the form, the registration form. So on the STLP page, though, the advantage of going here, which is also linked to that email, you've got the rubrics, of course, which are also on the STLP super sheet. You've got exemplars from past years, the FAQs, and then here is the register. When you click that, it will take you to the Google form. And this is where the form that you'll fill out for when you submit DPOJs. Now, you may want to, as you're filling this out, they've got spots for several categories. So, like, if you had like a graphic design entry and a digital art entry and photo essay entry, it can all go through this one form. But let's say a week later, a kid comes to you with a Minecraft entry. It's okay to fill out a second form. So you can fill this out as many times or as few times as you like. But just know that there are multiple parts of this, and you can fill, like, if you've got multiple DPOJ categories and multiple DPOJ entries, they can be filled out in this one form. But if after you fill out the form, you're like, oh, I forgot about this one, or I've got this kid turned this in, you can fill this out again. So it's not a big deal if you fill it out and you have to come back to it later and fill it out again. So just a heads up on that. All right, so let's today talk about vector art. So the last few weeks, I was kind of showing you different stuff in Google Drawings, and Google Drawings really is a a tool for creation. I think is criminally underrated. And what I like about it too is, so much stuff in our district is not approved by the software approval process, software approval team. But you're never going to go wrong using those Google tools, and Google Drawings is a great tool that you're always going to have. So this was last year's first place winner in the graphic design category, and it's Harriet Tubman. Just a picture of Harriet Tubman that this student used vector art, which is basically digital tracing, to trace over top of her like her clothing and her face and her hair, and like you see the light coming in there from the window and whatnot. And then he added a quote, or he or she, actually Sophie, sorry, added a quote there, and that's why it's graphic design. Remember, I've told you that the line between graphic design and digital art is very, very thin, and it all comes down to, is there text on the page? So text on the page, graphic design. If there are no text on this page, it's a digital art entry. So just an important distinction there. So I'm going to show you how to do this, just a really quick demonstration of vector art. You can actually, if you just Google vector art, you can see some really cool stuff. There's a really popular video on YouTube of a guy who did vector art over Justin Timberlake's face. Here's one for Robert Downey Jr., for example. So you get really, really detailed on this. Here's one for like a leopard that's really cool. I could see a kid doing something like that. Really cool. I like that one. This one's really cool. So anyway, it's just digital tracing is all it is. Steve, if somebody asks a question in the chat, please pop in and pose it to me if it's pertinent, okay? All right. I do. So let's go ahead and create this vector art in Google Drawings I'm going to do today. So you guys know that to get the drawings, you go to the waffle, you go to Drive, you go to when you open this up, you're going to go to New. And then it's going to take a minute because it does this on older computers, unfortunately. So give it a second. It'll pop up here. The problem is there we go. Like you can't type in like drawings.new or whatever like you can with Docs. You've got to go to Drawings this way. So I'm going to go to Google Drawings. And so from there, you guys know I have, when I open up Drawings, this transparent background, that checkerboard. There's nothing there. It's clear. And so the first thing that I would want to do probably is right-click my background after giving it a name. And I'm just going to do a Cardinal today. Cardinal, because this is going to be really, really simple. And I recommend your kids start out with something really, really simple too, like a cardinal. And I'll show you that why this is going to be so simple. Cardinal, right-click, background. I'm going to do a white background to start off with, okay? But the background's not even going to matter that much, honestly. So here we go. I'm going to go to Insert. I'm going to go to Image. I'm going to go to Search the Web. And I'm just going to look for a picture of a cardinal, all right? So when I get the search up here, I'm just going to search cardinal. And this is the picture of the cardinal I want right here. Yeah, so there's that. The cardinal just looks funny to me for some reason. Okay, that cardinal is right there. And so that cardinal, you notice that he's only got really, what colors does the cardinal have on him right now? This is kind of important to when you're first starting out. Somebody tell me the colors of this cardinal.
Red and black.
Red, black, and what color is his beak?
Orange.
Orange. Okay, so this is going to make this really simple, and his feet are kind of like a brown, okay? So this is going to make this really simple for me because watch what I do here. I'm going to use that polyline tool, and I've talked about the polyline tool in the past, to trace over top this cardinal's basically the colors of his body. All right, so I'm going to go to this line tool, and I'm going to go to polyline. All right, line, polyline. And, you know, it really helps to be zoomed in. So when you do this, so I always recommend going to View and Zoom, and then zooming in to like 100%, or you just hit Zoom in too. You can just go Zoom, Zoom in. And then just trace. Okay, so see, I've got that polyline tool selected there. And I'm going to start up here. I'm just going to trace this cardinal, starting with the red. Okay, so I'm going to trace, try to get, he's got some jagged feathers in there. I'm going to try to capture that. All right, so there's that. Just tracing the cardinal. All right, I'm going to go try to get as close to his body as possible. I'm just clicking the mouse. All I'm doing is every time I click, it makes a point or a vector. That's the whole. That's why it's called vector art, because all the points. Click, 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 and you see how I'm just tracing digitally. So click, click, click. Now, if I wanted to get really fancy with this, you see how his feathers there have like a black and whatnot, and their lines. You could do all that, and I've seen vector art where they do that kind of stuff. But I'm just gonna be really, really generic with this. Okay. So click, 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 click. Still tracing. Okay. Click, 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 click. Okay, stop. Notice I stopped there because it's a different color, right? Black is right there, so I want to go around the black. I'm going around the black, 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 around the black. Click and click. And I ended it where I began it, right? I ended it where I began it, and look. So now I have that light blue color, that default light blue. And I go up the bucket, and I can change that to red. Okay, so that's part one. So one part of the cardinal's down, right? So the next part, what I'm going to do is the black part. So I'm going to do the black part. I'm going to go, and I can go ahead and change this if I want, but I'm going to actually, I don't want to change it because right now that's selected. So I'm going to go back to my line tool and go to polyline. Oops, make sure the polyline's selected.
Russ, we did have a question in the chat about any advice for students who have Chromebooks and do not have a mouse to click and drag the lines. Sometimes a mouse pad is a challenge depending on the grade level.
Yeah, that is going to be a challenge with a Chromebook, a trackpad. You can it can be done, but yeah, that is a challenge. This works a lot better with a mouse. I will tell you that. But with a trackpad, it does work. I would recommend kids starting out something really simple. Like this, for example, and trying to just kind of work up those skills. And so with the black part here, somebody have a question?
If they messed up on the Chromebook, if they double click on the shape that they outlined, the little blue, the little points where they clicked will come up, and they can move them around to reshape it.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Also,
Just like I mentioned in the chat, like I just tried to be sure of it. You don't have to hold down the mouse at all. You just click. So like that's not like once you close the shape, then you get your vector.
Right, exactly. So yeah, once it closes the shape off, you get your vector exactly. And so then you can adjust the different points on it to make it fit. Good points, guys. So now I'm gonna trace this black part. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna do that. I'm just gonna try to follow along that line. And again, you can see how it helps to be zoomed in, because I could even zoom in even further on this and really, really make sure that I'm just kind of following that along that path. So really, zoom and the polyline tool are your two main things with vector art, because you can get really, really detailed with it. Okay, so I'm clicking, and then there's the black part. I'm going to do that. All right. And then so here I'm going to do his beak. And so we'll just go ahead and draw that. Notice I've got my crosshairs still, so I can keep going. So click. He's got a little bit of an opening in his beak, so I want to make sure I capture that. Click. And click. All right, and then I'll change that to orange. So orange, and then so from there, I can do his feet. And so I'm going to tell you right now, every time I've done this, his feet look really, really janky. So don't judge me on his feet here. All right, so I'm gonna do his feet, and so I'm gonna go and I'm gonna trace his feet. Okay, and notice there it closed off the shape. I still haven't figured out why that does that, but sometimes it's going to do that. And when you do that, you do undo. Okay, maybe I crossed a line or something. So I'm going to go. Let's start with this one over here. Actually, so let's start with this one. I'm going to trace it. Try not to be quite as detailed with it.
While you're doing the feet, Lisa also followed up with, how would this work on an iPad?
Well, here's the thing with iPads. iPads do not have Google Drawings, so you'd have to find a different tool to use. So I'm not sure what apps are out there for digital art, but yeah, Google Drawings is not. There's no Google Drawings on iPads, so that's one disadvantage of that. Let's go to
Lisa,
brown.
you might want to ask your art teacher. I know there's lots of art drawing apps out there that you can trace over pictures. So you could probably find something similar.
This is Lisa. There are a couple of students that said that they don't have iPads, they have tablets.
Hmm.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
That's okay. Would that make a difference?
If they're Android tablets, is that what it is?
I know one of them said it's an Android.
So then it should have Google Drawings on there. That should be available to that student then, since it's a Chrome OS. So I would check and see if they have drawings. Now they're going to have to experiment with how that would work as far as the clicking and the vectors and whatnot. But yeah, so that if it's an Android, it should be drawings should be available to them.
Thank you.
All right, so here is the bird, right? So now what you want to do is you want to do something like, so I've traced over the picture of the bird, and so I'm going to click my select button right next to the polyline. And when I do that, I hit delete. And so there's just my bird there by himself, my vector, okay? So the original image is gone, and I've got my my picture there of the bird. And so from here is where you could get really, really detailed. I could go back and I could put the eye in. I could put the outline of his feathers and all that kind of stuff. Or you could be really generic like me and right click on the background, and I might make something like a dark blue, and I could do insert word art and put Cardinal. All right, and just kind of resize that. Roboto bold, and then I could make it like white and like that. So there's my Cardinal right there, right? So that's just really, really, whoops, and of course this beak's falling off now. So when you do that, undo. So you make sure if you move this thing around, you've got the whole thing selected. And then so when you do this, like you can be as detailed as you like. I tried to do this with teachers. Let me show you one I did like last year or the year before. This is a blue jay, and so this is along the same lines. So basically, if you're starting out with this, try a bird. Birds are easy. So do a bird like this, and so here's a blue jay, and you see where I've got his eye there, and I've got the black part of his beak and the different colors. So that's a little bit more detailed. He's on a branch, all that kind of stuff. So that's my vector art tutorial. But anyway, I tried to do this with teachers, I think it was 2 summers ago, and I was doing a panda bear with them, and I just looked around the room, and like this panda bear was just so complicated. It seemed easy, but it was really so complicated. And I had about 3 teachers with me out of like the 20 after like 15 minutes. So it's something that takes a lot of practice, but if you get really good at it, and your kids, some of them will be really good at it, like this kid who was the 4th or 5th grader at Bloom last year, they'll do some amazing stuff with it. Any questions?
So would you recommend maybe for starters, finding a simple shape that only has like 3 colors? Would that be a good way to start with like elementary?
Exactly. Yeah. Find a simple shape that only has like 3 colors. And that's why I chose that Cardinal, because he's pretty simple. This is only, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shapes. Okay. But yeah, you could even go simpler than that and, try to get like a picture of, I don't know, like the moon or something. I don't know, like just have them trace anything and see if they can just trace over top of it. So that's vector art.